Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Futsal868 Corner Talks. My name is Geoffrey Edwards, host and series moderator. Today, episode 73 of Futsal868 Corner Talks discusses sport and health. What is the role of sport in enhancing a population's physical and mental well-being? The show this evening intends to provide an introduction to the role of sport in enhancing physical and mental well-being to Trinidad and Tobago and by extension the Caribbean. We hope to look at a couple key themes related to this topic. Joining us this evening, our guest is Ms. Kezia Phillip, a registered dietitian, health education consultant, director, Chest and Heart Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and lastly, managing director of her own company, Keys to Wellness. We want to say good afternoon to Miss Kezia Phillip. Good afternoon, Miss Phillip. How are you doing?
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Edwards. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And for the show purposes, they could call me Geoffrey. That's fine. It's okay. But the same is Corner Talk. So with that being said, we like having a Sunday afternoon chat about something very serious, nevertheless. And I pause because yesterday we celebrated this World Children's Day, where we ask for a better future for every child. And I wanna recognize that because on behalf of the Futsal Association of Trinidad and Tobago and the Dash Street Youth Empowerment Committee, who together we co-host Kids Connect, a free mental health workshop for children. And if it is you want to know more about it, you can check it out on our YouTube channel. We also want to recognize, and Ms. Phillip took the opportunity to send us a couple graphics. And I really wanna start off with that. Let's take a look. One of them says, let children be children. Ms. Phillip, we're going to talk about this, especially given the fact that we're in a pandemic. How are we going to let children be children? When they're talking about sports and health. And then the other one, which is a little bit very interesting. 1 in 3. That's one too many, it says. The graphic says 1 in 3 Caribbean children is overweight or obese. Ms. Phillip, your opening remarks.
It's very interesting that, yesterday, I guess I should say fitting that yesterday was World Children's Day, and then today we are talking about sport and health. And when we talk about sport, to me, yes, I'm not saying we're going to leave out adults, but we always have to talk about children and their ability to, or the opportunities to engage in sport and activity. Now, the World Health Organization defines health as not merely the absence of disease, but the state of physical, social, and mental well-being. Now, we know sport and health very critical for you to achieve those 3 different states of well-being. And I mean, we talked about, or your topic, has some implications to the mental effects or impact with health and sport, which is very important because when you're looking at the different mental, looking at the different states of health, when you're looking at the mental, the physical, and the social, we could see how important sport plays in those 3 different aspects with the benefits. The benefits actually, goes throughout those 3 different areas. So, it's very important. And I think everything is fitting. And, it's interesting as we go along to see, how we develop this conversation. Now, recently, with respect to the infographics, so right now, so this is UNICEF PAHO Healthy Caribbean Coalition. They're embarking on a campaign. It started earlier this month. It's going till probably I think the 1st or 2nd week in December. And really trying to get the Caribbean region because 1 in 3 is a lot. And of course, when you're looking at obesity and fighting obesity in children, we have to start from, the children. We're looking at behavior change in our population. Sport and physical activity is a critical role. Of course, nutrition plays a part of it, but physical activity is key.
So the first question of the bat is, what are the health benefits of sport and physical activity to everyone? It doesn't matter their age, their race, their gender. What are the benefits?
So as I mentioned before, we look at the three different states. We could break down the benefits into those categories. So we have the physical. So sport and physical activity is important to reducing the risk of cardiovascular disease, otherwise known as heart disease, diabetes, cancers, as well as we're looking at the importance of bone, muscle, joint health is also important. When it's particularly talk to, let's look at pregnancy. So it actually helps with pregnancy. So yes, we know we're talking about everyone, but there are certain benefits that you would find in different populations, right? When it says so that's the physical. So if it's really looking at the mental, so it improves sleep, it improves your mood. It releases endorphins and help improve your mood. It even improves concentration. And in children in particular, it increases academic performance. Research has shown. When it says we're looking at even the social aspect of it, being not really physical activity, yes, but we're looking at group physical activity or like group sports, you tend to find that sense of belonging, which is really what social well-being is about, that sense of belonging, that camaraderie, teamwork, that's where it comes in. If we look at the elderly population, being physically active is really important. We're looking at reducing the risk of falls and injury and that kind of thing. So physical activity and sport is very important in all ages throughout the life cycle.
I am happy that you mentioned the children in regards to schools, because we had one of our topics this month was sport and education, where we had two guests from the University of Trinidad and Tobago who spoke exhaustively about this topic. And I want you to be able to break it down to us from a registered dietitian, a person in the medical field, and speaking directly to parents, teachers, principals. Why is it important for children? I mean, you would have said it before, but why is it important for children to play? Not only sport, but just to play. I ain't even talking the pandemic right now. I'm just talking to play, because in that conversation, we have heard stories as regards to the disconnect between government agencies, um, the state, if you want to be it, through the schools, and even parents who do not see how it's important for children to play, to be involved in extracurricular activities that harness their mind, body, and soul. Please share with us.
That's a really good question, because the World Health Organization really broke it down really nicely into categories. So depending on the age, they actually have recommendations. And so when you look at children under 5, so they advise that children shouldn't be in restraints for more than an hour, because you want movement, you want that body movement. Remember, the child is still developing. And you're allowing, that free movement. So of course, when we're talking about physical activity with children, we're not necessarily talking about sport or structured exercise, but as I said, play. So you just allow for free movement. You allow for what they call the tummy time, because you're trying to develop those motor skills. From children older than 5 to 17, what they recommend is an hour a day, and not necessarily an hour a day of that structured exercise, but just free play, run in the yard. I mean, yes, we talk about the pandemic, but they still have some kind of space. They can even find a small space in the home, if it's in the yard, in the street, to just play and be free. I remember as a child, my mother used to carry us in the yard. We used to play hopscotch and skip. You might get a little bruise, but all that's in it. And then that's so important, because with the exercise and the benefits towards for heart health. When you exercise, that cardiovascular, activity and that breathing, so the deep breathing, that increasing oxygen, and that's what helps with, the concentration, and we have to concentrate to do whatever it is you're going to do. It also, helps with coordinating and that kind of thing. So it develops, different parts of the mind, the different parts of the brain, which all important when you're developing, when a child is developing. You're not just trying to develop the academic side of it and just book work all the time. And of course, the physical activity will contribute. As I said before, research showed children who are engaged in physical activity, it may not necessarily be a sport, but they tend to perform better in school. So all those things, play together, and play is very important. When we look at the adults and the older population, even pregnancy, during pregnancy, after pregnancy, they also have recommendations. Before they used to say 150 minutes, and they actually have increased the recommendation because we're so sedentary, and the pandemic has made it worse. A lot of people working from home with all the restrictions and that kind of thing. They now have increased it to 300 minutes, which is basically an hour, 5 days for the week. So, I mean, if we are saying that because of our lifestyle is, so before you had to walk on the road to get a taxi, most people have their cars, or you get in a drop, we have ride share and those type of things now. You're taking a taxi, there's less movement on a whole. You're not using the stairs, you're using the elevator, that kind of thing. So because our lives have been less active, they have to increase the recommendation for physical activity and exercise. Yeah, but it's really, really important to allow children just start free play, them make up a game, so all those things help with creativity and help with the child development.
Sport, physical activity, and risk factors for major diseases. You are director for the Heart and Chest Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Beside that organization and also heart diseases and chest diseases or chest ailments, what other risk factors exist because of the inability of physical activity or physical inactivity, I should say, and involvement in sport?
Yeah. So when we're looking at non-communicable chronic diseases, what we call lifestyle diseases, we usually separate the risk factors into modifiable and non-modifiable. Non-modifiable is that what you can't change. So you can't change your sex, you can't change your age, you can't change your ethnicity, your family history. And so, of course, all those have implications for your risk of developing diabetes, heart disease, and that kind of thing, right? Any of those chronic diseases. When we're looking at the modifiable risk factors, the things that you can change. So, of course, we're looking at diet, very important. So having a diet low in fat, low in sodium or salt, low in sugar, sugary foods and sugary beverages. We also have to look at, as well as smoking. So you have to avoid smoking. Also look at alcohol consumption. I always say as Caribbean people, as Trinis, most Trinis binge drink. There are recommendations. So men are allowed 2 drinks, women are allowed 1. And a drink is like 1 beer, 1.5 ounces of any kind of spirit, rum or scotch or something like that, and 5 ounces of wine. Most people on a Friday, you're not even having that, right? You're having more than that. So by definition, that's binging, which increases the risk for developing chronic diseases, right?
Stop. Stop. I mean, the Corner Talks is not a comedy show. It's serious, but I really know that you're speaking the truth. And normally I don't stop my guests when they, especially something as serious as this. I really would like you to repeat that, please. Because we had last week Sport and Human Resource Management, and there was one quote from Mr. Wycliffe Dave Cameron that says, culture trumps strategy. And our culture in the Caribbean, especially Trinidad and Tobago, is one of binge drinking. So I would like you to really slow down and repeat that. But I would also like you, if you can, please do state what happens with continuous binge drinking so that our audience can be able to understand that even though it is who we are as Trinis, or in terms of the colloquial way, who we are as Trinbagonians in the political correct way, who we are as Caribbean people, given our influence from the colonial powers, especially British, in terms of how they consume alcohol. What is it caused in our society? So that's why I stopped you, because this is very important.
I mean, so you said that we as a people we binge drink, but remember we don't say binge drinking. So that's why I had to stop me, because it's something new. People like, why are you talking about binge drink? But Friday I have 3-4 beers. That is not binge drinking. And some people even save it for the week. Well, I didn't drink for the week, so Friday, Saturday, you're double and you're tripling up. And I said double and triple as in not in 1 and 3. I'm talking about what you usually would have if it's 3 or 4 on a regular afternoon. And I guess the thing about this is education, and we need to educate the public and letting persons know that what we do on our regular weekend, it is by definition, and this is definition, binge drinking, right? It's binge consumption of alcohol. And the continuous increased consumption, intake of alcohol increases the risk for liver disease. And yes, we have it there. I've seen it in the hospitals. Liver disease, in particular, diabetes, and other heart disease and other non-communicable diseases. So, I mean, you can control your alcohol intake. As I mentioned before, women are allowed 1, men are allowed 2 drinks. So that's a beer. Beers are 1 serving, 5 ounces of wine, 1.5 ounces of spirit or rum or scotch. That is the recommendation. So men are allowed 2 servings of that, so like 2 beers or 2 glasses of wine. Women are allowed 1. This is in a day. So we really have to take stock of what we put into our body. So I mentioned the diet before. Alcohol be something as well we need to consider when we're looking at intake, oral intake. As I mentioned before, of course, smoking. And of course, well, what the topic is on, sport and physical activity. So the lack of physical activity or physical inactivity increases the risk for being overweight, obese, for developing diabetes, heart disease, and the other non-communicable chronic diseases. And those are things we can change because it's it's a lifestyle. And so we have to look at ways in, trying to change. And as I mentioned before, it's a cultural thing. So when it is you're looking at trying to change culture, we really have to start at the preschool level. We can't just come now and just do yes, we could do a wide public health campaign, but we really have to look at putting things in place at the preschool level if we really want to start culture shift towards, a healthy society and healthy behavioral practices within the households, within our communities, within the nation.
We'll definitely speak to campaigns later on. Let's continue on the trend of culture. We didn't have carnival this year. We're not too sure if to have carnival next year. But in the first world countries, you have summer body. You're getting your body ready to show off. For us in the Caribbean, for us in Trinidad and Tobago, is carnival body. So we do everything in our power 3 months before to get our body up primed and ready. And then on top of that, we put our bodies through this rigorous testimony of partying, and the new word here is binge drinking. 2 questions: what does that do to our bodies over extended period of time? And secondly, I had a and this is informal conversation with a cardiologist 3 years ago who informed me that we have a lot of persons who are going to the gyms. They are physically on the outside, they look muscular, but they are hardly doing any cardio work. And it says, and there's an increase in cardiac arrest or cardiovascular issues with even those persons who are regular gym users. I know that is a lot and I'm speaking to 2 different things, but I just wanted to put that out there. And I hope that you could speak to them, because I don't want to lose my trend of thought, because you brought up a lot of things, as you spoke. So please help me with those 2 as you remember.
All right. So when we're talking about, as I said, that the gym body, if we're getting ready for that carnival preparation. So most people go on some sort of fat diets. Fat diets are dangerous because remember, there's a drastic change. Most people cut out some sort of food group. So they might cut out staples completely, which are very high in carbohydrates, because you're trying to lose as much weight as possible in a small amount of time. Now, the implications for that is that you could actually lose a lot of muscle. In attempting to lose weight, you could lose a lot of muscle. And I always tell clients, your heart is a muscle. So, I mean, by extension, you're putting your heart under strain. So you see that short period, that rapid weight loss is really not healthy because you're putting your entire body under strain. You're going to, nutrient restriction. So you could have some nutrient deficiencies, micronutrient deficiencies, because, you're restricting the amount of the different types of food that you'll be eating. And then, of course, that actual physical strain you put on your body by, doing that excessive, going to the gym, etc. Now, so you do that for a couple of months, and then carnival hits, and then you refresh your body with a lot of alcohol for the period. I can't even say Monday and Tuesday because I know people who have the carnival effect lineup. So it's weeks upon the weeks that you put your body through that, and then afterwards, there's no physical activity. I mean, you might be drinking less, but again, you're putting your body into another state of distress. And most times, a lot of people will end up putting back on a lot more weight. Your body rebound, and your body's like, oh my gosh, food or nutrients, and it just started, take in and absorb. And so it's really not, it's not good. And it's similar to like, that whole yo-yo dieting phenomenon that actually, still have a lot of implications for different conditions. So it's not something I advise. So we're always looking at, simple lifestyle changes. You want something that will be sustainable that you could, continue doing for an extended period of time, basically for the rest of your life. So you want to just have general healthy practices. So eating healthy, eating balanced, eating a variety of foods, and that physical activity, right? The other thing I mentioned is a lot of people may be exercising and they seem muscular, and they seem very fit. But the cardiovascular or the heart health is really not optimum. And, sometimes you would hear of someone, they used to run gym, a lot of muscles and that kind of thing, and then they're getting a heart attack or they have high cholesterol. So the cardiovascular or the aerobic exercises, which is what really helps with the heart, right? So maybe you're getting your heart pumping, you're supposed to be feeling out of breath. So I usually tell people when you're exercising, if it is you could talk while exercising, you're not doing enough. You want to put your body under that sort of strain where your heart's really exercising, which really helps strengthen the heart, which really helps strengthen the blood vessels and that kind of thing, and reduces the risk for cardiovascular diseases. So that's why you find persons who just focus on those strength exercises, they may not necessarily be benefiting from the general impact of being physically active.
Watch me now. I think more people need to hear that now, because we have become so Hollywood type that some people just walk into the gym and straight to the weight rack. And some people might say, but Geoffrey, you're just jealous that they ain't have you ain't buff. Some people might say that. What would you say to those persons who saying that we don't know what we're saying? Because we don't know, I healthy. Look at me. I have a six-pack. I have my biceps curve like Mount Everest. When it is, you watch me bareback on Carnival Monday, Tuesday, or Maracas, I rip. But I don't need to go and play football. That's too much sweating. I'm not into all that drama. Talk to them in a local way, because I had to get them to understand what they're doing to their hearts, please. I mean, it might be repeating the same thing again, but this is important.
But before, as I say, talking about local, let's go back to the research. Again, the international recommendation. Yes, they're saying exercise for 1 hour, 5 days a week, but they recommend that at least, 2 of those days, 2 to 3 of those days need to be cardio, need to be aerobic exercises. So I'm not saying that don't lift your weights. So no, lift. Everybody know lifting weights is very important. It helps with bone, with your bone density, bone health. It helps with muscles, right? Very, very important. It helps with build muscle. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying leave out the weights. I love lifting weights, as a matter of fact, right? Yes, you feel as strong, you feel like a lion, that kind of way, right? So, I mean, I love it and I enjoy it, so I can understand. But again, with everything in life, balance. Balance. So you see, you have to balance your plate. You have to balance your lifestyle, so your physical activity with your sedentary activity, with everything else is with balance. You have to balance work with play. So all I'm saying is to just have some balance in the extreme lifestyles. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't really get the true benefit of what it is, you're trying to achieve or accomplish.
Let's talk consistency. One of the things I've noticed is that every time there was a reopening of lockdown, there was, especially before the SOE was lifted, bars will be open. You found that in Trinidad and Tobago, at least for those who are listening, let me be clear about that. We found that all of the popular spots, and I have been to most of them, I should say. My apologies. In Port of Spain, in Cuba, in San Fernando, even in Tobago, you found that a lot of persons were exercising, Kezia. You found that a lot of persons were walking, were running. You even found a lot of family members. The bars are back up and running, and and now you find that there's an influx of persons running to the bars. I now want to speak to sport and health in terms of consistency, because I recognize that persons came out because it was a breath of fresh air. I was in lockdown. I need to come out. I can't do anything else. So the second best thing is to take a walk. Is upon a little COVID pounds, let me try to lose it. Talk us through consistent physical activity. Talk us through consistent play for everyone, adults and children. And what does that mean to you as a health education consultant?
Well, I mean, you talk about the bars opening and then rush back, and I look as like, wait, boy, culture. So you would think that we had almost 2 years of lockdown, and that behavior would have changed, but people kind of go back to the default. And if our tendency as human nature is to go back to the default setting, that means that if it is we want healthy lifestyle practices, those are things that we need to actually put in place from childhood. So we go back to same thing as I said before. If we do any kind of intervention, we have to look at preschoolers. We have to look at the home, the family setting, and we have to look at the young ones. So if it is you find that, and a lot of studies would have shown that if a household, if exercise is part of the household, then more than likely the children, when they grow up into adults, they will keep the practice. And so really looking at consistency in terms of healthy behaviors, a lot of things have to be instilled from young. When we're looking at changing behavior, let's just say in adults, and then you realize, okay, I need to change, my activities or my intake, or change my lifestyle in order to be healthy, to have a long, healthy life. You have to look at small steps. So I'm not saying, so let's just say, for instance, if you don't exercise, you never use exercise at all, you don't exercise at all, and you say, you see me, I'm going to start to exercise because I realize it's good for my physical and my mental health. I'm going to start to exercise. I don't expect you to exercise an hour for 5 days for the week. That's being impractical. So I usually would tell clients, okay, let's break it down a bit. Could you spare 10, 15 minutes in the morning? Could you spare that amount in an evening? And then you gradually increase. So we're looking at consistency. We're looking at small changes over a long period of time. And so, of course, you'll be building upon your small changes over that extended period. And that is really key here when we're looking at behavior change.
I paused because I was actually looking for a video, which I will be showing just now, as regards to two of my heroes in life doing exercise. Remember, I will show you just now. But let's move on to, people might be thinking, Kezia, we don't know what we're saying. But let's look at some details, and this is courtesy Kezia as well. Because I would like you to speak to the people to what we are seeing in front of us.
All right, so this was an extract from WHO, a health profile that they did in Trinidad and Tobago. Most of the data is from just about 2016 or so. But the critical thing here, if you look at the right-hand side, where you have the pie chart there, 81%, 81, which is a very large number. Just about maybe about 10 years ago, we used to say 60%. This is now 81% of deaths in Trinidad and Tobago due to non-communicable chronic diseases, which are all lifestyle diseases. So 33% heart disease, 15% cancers, 3% respiratory diseases. So that would be like COPD, asthma, bronchitis, 15% diabetes, and 40% other diseases. So we have other things like chronic kidney disease, etc. If you look, there's only 19% is injury and communicable diseases. So it's a really, really large, it's alarming if you look at it. That 81% is really alarming. And note that these are all preventable diseases. I'm not hearing. Oh, okay.
So we have another one. It's getting scary
Right.
because this is the obesity and raised blood pressure in adults.
Again, but and look at the trend with the obesity. So the graph on the left-hand side. And it's interesting to note that the obesity rate in men actually less than in women. It's almost, I think it's almost double in women than in men, which is alarming. And I guess that's probably due to men still they're still, engaging in a little recreational activity, they're still, go out and take a little sweat. And then, of course, of blood pressure rates higher in men than in women, which is on the right-hand, the graph on the right-hand side. And I always find this very interesting because men generally don't display health-seeking behavior. They are not one quick to go to see the doctor to do anything, as opposed to women. But women are the ones that have higher rates of obesity than men. Very interesting.
Certainly very interesting. And last but not least.
All right, so I know this table have a lot of things going on here, but just interesting to note the second set of table that says risk factors, harmful use of alcohol consumption, well, higher in men by far, like 14%, 3% in women. And we look at physical inactivity, again, 27% in men, 49% in women, all this data from 2016. We actually don't have any data on tobacco use, unfortunately, but that would be interesting to note. I also want to point out on the obesity. So when you look at obesity in adults, 11% men, 28% in women, and just about 9%. We know that those are 2016 data, and now we are closer to 1 in 3 for children.
Scary, 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 to say the least. So, guys, for the first 30 minutes, we would have spoken to both Kezia's knowledge. We would have had put in some of the observations as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. But here we have the data which supports what she's saying. Sport and health, episode 73. You're watching Futsal 868 Corner Talks. I wanted to soak in as we take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Storyblocks Audio.
Right up. 8, 9, Come on. Come on, straight.
Yeah.
Straight. Okay.
You may be asking who those last two persons there. We speak in sport and health. Those two are my parents, Prince and Laura Edwards, and they are the ones that have me involved in sport. And as a matter of fact, they are living examples. That video was taken by their personal trainer this week, as a matter of fact. So you're looking at a 71-year-old and a 67, and as you can see, the woman is pushing the man. Yeah, can't get better than that. The queen leads the prince, as you may put it in that regards. So let's continue as we recognize this very important topic, and we want to speak more to non-communicable diseases and how sport can be able to assist with that. But also, you are a dietitian, and I want you to put in, Kezia, eating healthy as well, because even myself, as I get older, I recognize that sport is just one thing. Because I will train probably 3 times a week, have fed match football on a Saturday, and still I find that a little pudgy around the stomach, right? But then when it says during COVID-19, and I started doing some research, and I started to change my diet. I started doing intermittent fasting. I started to change my diet, what I ate, what I didn't want, what I should not be eating. Reduction in terms of sugar, reduction in terms of salt. A significant change in my body fat, in my skin. A lot of things happen. I would like you to speak to that. Sport, diet, non-communicable diseases.
So when we're looking at sport, of course, we have to talk about diet. I think they go hand in hand. Now, elite athletes, of course, they will have, different requirements, energy requirements, and the energy you're getting from food, as opposed to somebody who exercises recreationally, or just for personal fitness. So, there's a slight difference, but, generally we give it's a bit of a universal recommendation. We use a plate as a guide. So in Trinidad, actually, I think with some data, some research that was done a couple of years ago, average intake of fruit and veg is like 0.1, 0.9 weekly, which is extremely low. And the recommendation is 3 servings of vegetables a day, at least 2 servings of fruit daily. So for us to be having, 0.9, and this is in children, yes. So, yes.
Miss, could you repeat that for me, please?
Yes, the average intake of fruit and vegetables in Trinidad and Tobago, 0.9. This is in children, 0.9. Actually, probably not that high in adults. So again, hence, when we're looking at nutrition, we have to talk about fruit and vegetable intake, because we know we're close to what is recommended, as in the 3 servings of vegetables a day, 2 servings of fruit. We know we're close. And if it is, we use the healthy plate guide, and I started to send that graphic to you before, where we recommend half your plate be.
But Kezia, we live on an island. Kezia, we live on
right, so let's look at Sunday lunch. Tell me what normally is having Sunday lunch. It's have pie, it's have rice, potato salad, some chicken, you might have some callaloo, and then the lettuce and the cucumbers be a little garnish on top. You see they're laughing. Right? So that does not align, and this is a Caribbean thing, that's not even a Trinidad thing. We are very carb focused.
So I like how we said. So start me off with a Sunday lunch. What should a Sunday lunch be for a Trinbagonian family?
So
and
again,
I would like to extend this to the Caribbean as well. Since what should be a Sunday lunch be? Because we spread, so make sure that's spread too, please.
I don't like to restrict, right? So let's go back to the plate, guys. So half the plate would be cooked and raw vegetables. Quarter would be your staples. So that would be the foods that high in carbohydrates. And then quarter would be your food high in protein. So your food from animals, some legumes or nuts, seeds or nuts. So let's think about Sunday lunch. So we start with the vegetables first because we like to put the carbs on the plate first, right? So you can have your fresh salad, you say half your plate, eh? But what is a cooked vegetables? You could do some steamed veg, callaloo. So look how much thing you're still getting to do there. Fresh salad, you still getting to do some steamed veg, right? Or sauteed veg, callaloo. It's 3 different veg there, half your plate. So we're going good, right? So you're semi getting a spread there. All right. So if we're saying quarter protein, so you can have fish, chicken, whichever, whatever, any kind of meat you want to have on quarter of the plate.
Including red meat?
Yes, remember everything again is moderation. I'm going to eat red meat every day.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything is moderation. So if Sunday's the day you like to eat your beef, of course you're looking for lean cuts, so not too much of white or the marbling when you're going to purchase the beef. So you have your beef, that's fine. You're not eating beef every day. So, but this is the tricky part here because they don't normally it's rice, it's pie, potato salad, macaroni salad. Plus, it's had a boiled provision and put it like if it's a side, right? And all those things are very high in carbohydrates. What I would usually recommend, particularly to diabetics, choose one. Choose one. It may be difficult, yeah. Just choose one. I don't want to tell you to half the portion because then you just pile. Think about a Christmas plate when you go a Christmas luncheon. And you end up with a mountain of a plate. And instead of trying to let everything fit nicely, you're just going to pile it on. So I usually say choose one. So yes, you could do rice and pie and potato salad and corn pie and whatever. I'm not saying no. But when you're going to eat, so lunchtime today, choose one. If you're having a bit of food later, then you can have, so if you have rice, vegetable rice for lunch, because you know you have to eat Sunday lunch twice on a Sunday. When you're going back this afternoon, then you can have the pie. And then you know your Sunday lunch going for Monday. Then, okay, you have the potato salad or the macaroni salad instead. So I prefer to recommend choosing one. But if you really want to put that, let's say macaroni pie and potato salad on the plate or whatever piece of provision, then you're just going to have less. So is half your pie and half the amount of potato salad you will have.
So is it right? So I try to choose my words wisely, yeah? Is it correct to say that we eat rich as Caribbean people? That literally affects us in terms of our lives and being healthy.
Yes, and think about it. So after Sunday, after you have lunch, what has happened? Everybody going to the food coma. And back in the day, you used to take a little stroll. You used to go somewhere on Sunday evening. You don't have that again. Right? You're going to your coma because you overeat. So now
you're going for ice cream after. You're going for ice cream.
I mean, and nothing wrong with dessert, you know. Again, everything is moderation. So instead of having that big Sunday, you just have a one scoop. Nothing wrong with the one scoop. You eat ice cream every day. You know, so everything is about balance. I really don't like to restrict things about balance. If it is, let's just think about, and you know how we like celebrations. So it's birthday, is wedding, is funeral. What's I'm missing? Everything is a reason for food and for drink. And again, it's always a kind of buffet style, some kind of something, opportunity to overeat. Even think about, we talk about carnival before, all-inclusive fete. I had to eat out my money. How much money I spent for this fete, right? So you're piling on that plate. You might go hungry and all. Or Christmas dinners, you're going hungry and all. And that is not something that we recommend. So you eat normal, you eat like normal throughout the day. And it's just moderation, because we give our bodies too much. Too much.
As we get ready to wrap up, we have 2 more topics that I would like to discuss. Now is about suggestions and solutions. Walk me through practical implications for sport when it comes to non-communicable diseases prevention programs. I do not want to mention where you work, but I would like you to speak to what it is you do as best as possible when it is you answering this question as case studies. So again, the question is practical implications for sport as regards to non-communicable diseases prevention programs. How can we do that?
All right. So now I keep saying the same thing. I feel like I'm beating a drum now. When we
I
looking
know, I know, I
so when
know.
we looking at sport and health, I always go straight back. And I said, the preschool, the primary school, even secondary schools. And when you're looking at designing an intervention, we're looking at addressing this whole childhood obesity epidemic. We have to not only address diet intake. So, there's the ban on sugar sweetened beverages. So there's no longer sold in schools. This is long before the pandemic, and it was a policy that really supposed to roll out throughout the Caribbean. And if you had to look a bit at the images you showed before from PAHO and the Healthy Caribbean Coalition, that's what it speaks. It speaks to certain policies that they want the Caribbean as a people for us to all of us to implement. So we're looking at reducing sugar sweetened beverages. We're looking at intake. So of course we have to promote, the fruit and vegetable intake. So nationally we have the TT moves that look at increasing fruit and vegetable intake. I told you the data before. It was only 0.9. It's very low. Intake is low. So we're trying to promote, or through the nation, the Ministry of Health is trying to promote through the TT moves, increased fruit and vegetable consumption, of course, water as well as physical activity. The second image I had showed you, let children play, which speaks to the physical activity component. We're looking at any type of intervention to address childhood obesity. So, I would say that sport is very important, it's very integral when you're looking at those type of public health campaigns. We have to put it in there, because at the end of the day, okay, so let's just say we're doing an adult, like dealing with adults. You can say aerobics, you can say Zumba, and everybody will enjoy it. When you're looking at children, no child want to do no aerobics. It has to be something fun, something engaging. You want them to learn at the same time. Remember, through sport there is learning, right? So there's some cognitive development going on there as well. And so, I think sport is really uniquely situated where you could get the physical activity. You're getting the physical well-being there. You're getting the mental health aspect of it, as well as the social. And you want something that engages the children that they will do on their own. So again, when you're looking at public health interventions, you don't just necessarily want it to just be a one-off and done. It has to be something that is able to carry on, because we're looking at long term. So there are many different programs that would have been rolled out by the ministry and throughout, different regional health, through the regional health authorities, that looked at addressing this whole childhood obesity epidemic. And they did use sports or physical activity as one of the tools, together with, of course, diet, and of course with screening as well.
Is it working?
Again, well, we're not really a data-driven society, so I really can't tell you whether or not it's working, in the sense of I have no data to show. I can tell it. We showed data earlier on. Data didn't look good, but I have no access to data, I should say. I didn't see anything to say that those interventions that would have, particularly, I believe it was just really the primary schools, to say that the intervention is working. But I think that if it is done strategically, where we have the data collected, we follow the children, because we're looking at sustained behavior change, and we're talking about something being consistent. So yes, you do a school program, but then you want to check on the children how much of a years later to see if they're, as adults, they're living an active lifestyle. Yeah. And so, but there's at least I have no access to data to say, whether or not is working. But if it is, you look internationally, so there's a program called Move It Mondays, and Move It Mondays campaign, where they do it in various settings, so not just school, but in communities and that kind of thing. And there is data to show that through that program it is working, where you have physical activity in schools, through community groups and that kind of thing. So the data is there internationally, but locally I can't say.
As a dietitian, is eating healthy expensive?
No, it's not. It's not expensive. I know we have the notion that it is. We always, as dietitians, we give people tricks of the trade. So you buy foods in season. You buy whatever fruits, vegetables in season. When tomatoes are pound on a crown, just don't buy tomatoes. You don't have to eat tomatoes all through the year. So it's just about using different tactics so you could buy things in bulk. You freeze it to preserve it, so you won't have food spoiling in the fridge, and a lot of food wastage happens that way, And so you have different ways. So no, it's not expensive. It's something that can be very manageable. You just have to plan ahead, plan your meals ahead. So it requires meal planning. It requires some sort of preparation. Simple little things that don't go in the grocery hungry. When you go in the grocery hungry, you tend to buy nonsense. You tend to buy all kind of extra junk. And you know how by the cashiers just have all the special treats. And that is by design. Even if you look at packaging, packages are designed to attract children, to attract the eye. They're colorful, they're pretty, and usually when they're like that, you know that they're high in sugar, high in salt, and high in fat. Yeah.
What are some of the suggestions you will make to the following stakeholders to do better when it comes to public health and sport? 1, parents. 2, coaches. 3, organizations such as Futsal868, who are national sporting organizations, to be able to help Kezia Phillip, to be able to help your organization make Trinidad and Tobago healthier.
I would say it requires all the stakeholders. You talk about the parents, well, of course, the leaders at the ministry, the different ministries, because not just Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health. You talk about the coaches, so the whole sporting industry and NGOs such as yourself. I mean, it requires everyone to sit at the table. So it can't be health planning or a public health intervention, because it's just not about health. As I mentioned before, health is not just merely the absence of disease. So we have to have all the stakeholders around the table, PTAs, to make sure that all the different elements that need to be addressed will be addressed in developing the intervention. So sometimes, again, so they may roll out something and it's geared towards, so for instance, the same thing with the sugar sweetened beverages, so we ban it in schools. What about education for the parents? What about education for the teachers? Because I would know that I have seen teachers will still go to school with soft drink and they will just say, well, no, this is for me. When the children go home, what they see when the parents drinking a soft drink. So we just ban a soft drink in school alone in isolation, and we can't operate in silos. So it requires a really multidisciplinary approach with all these stakeholders together in order to roll out an effective intervention. And of course, we have to look at data. We have to look at gathering evidence. And that's something I think that we always missing. It's very difficult to get local data on a lot of different things. And so gathering data and doing the different assessments, the monitoring and evaluation to see whether that works, and then we could roll it out further in different areas, or expand, tweak it, that kind of thing, where you evaluate to see, was this program working? What can we change? Let's change this part of it, this next component, and let's do it again. And not a one-off thing for a very short period, which really not going to show you the real, the impact or behavior change at all. Behavior change, when you look at it, is something really not sexy because it's not immediate results. We're looking at 10, 20 years, and a lot of people, they don't have time. The powers that be, they find that's too much of a long time to see real results. But if we're really serious about the health of our population, that is the approach we have to take.
Keys to wellness. Please give the viewers some contact information as regards to the organization. Also, what do you all do when it comes to health and healthy lifestyles?
Okay, so Keys to Wellness, primarily registered dietitian services, so meal plans, nutrition consultations and assessments, as well as nutrition education, health education as well. You can contact me at keys to the number 2 wellness at gmail.com. You can look at for my social media handle, Instagram, at keys to wellness, if you want to contact me.
Because I want to say thank you very much for being a part of the show. I leave you with the closing remarks as to making Trinidad and Tobago better. I know you would have beat the drum, and it's not the first time you would have said the same thing over and over, not only on this program.
All right. Thank you. First, I want to say thank you so much for having me. And I would like to say thanks to all the viewers for listening as well. When we're looking at sport and health, sometimes it's very easy for us to look at them in isolation, but we need to understand that they are, they go hand in hand, they go together. Um, Health is very important. As we see with this COVID-19 pandemic, the state of your health is extremely important. And even with survival, it's coming down to if it is basically you have a healthy body, which would mean that you're avoiding smoking, you're limiting your alcohol intake, trying to maintain a healthy weight, you're eating healthy. So as I said before, half the plate vegetables, you need to focus more on vegetable intake as opposed to being so carb focused. Try to have, fruits as snack, replace those packaged snacks with fruit or nuts. And also, of course, physical activity is very important for the health, for your health, as well as sport through sport. And so we just be looking at, just generally being a healthy nation. We just really need to take those, bit by bit steps towards a healthy lifestyle and healthy behaviors in general. But thank you so much for this opportunity. This was a really lovely discussion about how, as a nation, we could really use sport. Sport, I think sport is underused. Yeah, when we look at public health interventions.
Wait, boy, I have real quotes to take from you, boy. Sport is underused. Keziah said it. I agree with that because I need to tell people sport is underused. But Keziah, thank you very much. On behalf of the Futsal Association of Trinidad and Tobago and the Futsal868 Committee, thank you very much for being a part of the show. And we wish you and your family God's richest blessings as we enter into the Christmas season. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and yours. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you for everything that you have done for us and the wealth of information that you have brought to myself and the viewers at large. Have a good one. Talk
Thank
soon.
you. Same to you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye. So that was Miss Keziah Phillip. Um, it's very interesting that we have to continue to invest in our health. And being a national sporting organization, yes, we are speaking about sport. Recreational and competitive sport means that you have to ensure that your mind, body, and soul is in balance. You have to make sure that you participate in healthy lifestyles, which includes play, which includes cardiovascular vascular activity, which includes, most importantly, eating healthy. People, we need to change who we are in order to change our culture. The statistics are alarming. I'm going to put it up just one more time, even as we get ready to close. The statistics are alarming. Please, please take a note of it. 1 in 3 Caribbean children are overweight or obese. Look at it. Obesity, raised blood pressure. Noting that they're saying that look at 2025. Guys, we really need to do better. We really need to do better. So it's not a plug for you to be a part of the Futsal Association. It's not a plug for you to play futsal. It's not a plug for you to go and join a gym. It's not a plug for you to go to Keys to Wellness. It's a plug to save your life. And if my 71-year-old father and my 67-year-old mother can be able to go at it, well, boy, thank God for them. So on behalf of the Futsal Association of Trinidad and Tobago, I want to say thank you and have a blessed week. Next week, we have a special one as we close Sport On, the series held this November. Geoffrey Edwards signing off. Be blessed. Be blessed.
Storyblocks.